guys, welcome! In this video, we'll dive into AIS WALLENSTEIN's DPS build for PVE. AIS is a high mobility magic damage dealer who uses dual attack scaling mechanics to unleash insane amounts of wind element damage to her targets. If you missed our previous discussion regarding AIS's skill mechanics and an analysis of her pros and cons, you can find the video link below. This time we'll cover everything you need to know, from stats, runes, gears, cards, upgrades, and battle setup to guide you in optimizing your AIS character for PvE. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. First, for attribute point distribution, focus on maximizing int to increase your raw magic attack. Next, if you're using any item that grants spell crit chance, you can max out luck to boost your spell crit damage. Personally, I aim for around 40% spell crit chance as a good balance. After that, allocate your remaining points on strength to further increase your raw physical attack. As for damage modifiers, these are the stats that can further boost your damage against monsters. Just like traditional magic classes, you should prioritize improving Ignore Def, M-Pen, M-Piercing Strike, Racial Damage, Skill Damage, and Final Damage to counter the target's innate reduction stats. All of AIS's attack skills are wind element, so you also need to invest in wind damage, wind piercing strike, and elemental counter coefficient. What sets her apart from traditional magic classes is her enhanced buff skill, which allows AIS's magic skills to also benefit from physical attack, physical penetration, physical damage, and size damage bonuses. Just note that when using a sword-type weapon, she benefits from melee physical attack and melee physical damage, and you'll need a precision stone or other methods to reduce the weapon size penalty when fighting large-sized monsters. When using a staff-type weapon, she benefits from ranged physical attack and ranged physical damage, and she won't suffer from weapon size penalty. Finally, stats such as spell crit damage, damage to MVP, mini and all monsters, damage to targets under abnormal status, magic size damage, AoE skill magic damage, single target damage, crowd damage, and other shoot of final damage bonuses will further amplify her overall damage output. Up next, let's take a look at AIS's runes. The minimum requirement to play AIS as a DPS is to reach core passive skill level 4, as it allows the mini whirlwind to reduce a target's refined magic damage reduction by up to 25% at max stacks. This debuff is extremely valuable when clearing Constellation Tower and White Star Airship. Ideally, you should also aim for core passive level 7 to further increase the mini whirlwind's damage. Aside from activating the second line effect of her runes, you should also focus on getting high first line value on the following 4 runes to maximize AIS's damage potential. First priority is a star rune for Silver Glow to increase Silver Glow's damage by up to 40% and in turn also enhances the damage of her core passive Whirlwind and Lilverfaga. Second is the S rune for Enhance, which makes Silver Glow factor in size damage bonuses and the target's size damage reduction in its damage calculation. This rune also increases her damage against targets of all sizes by up to 30%. Third is a star rune for Ariel, which grants each tick of Silver Glow up to 50% chance to apply 2 marks during Ariel's state, increasing the rate at which her core passive generates mini whirlwinds. And fourth is a star rune for Lilverfaga to boost its effectiveness as an initial burst skill to targets with full HP. As for attribute runes, you may use the following attack, buff, and def runes. And for arcane runes, I recommend getting White Blade rune to boost your shoot of final damage when there is only one enemy within 5 meters, War Preparedness rune to generate a shield that improves your survivability, and Spirit rune to prevent running out of SP during long fights. Up next, let's dive into the recommended equipment set and cards. First, for weapon, I recommend using AIS's signature weapon, Sharp Sword, since it directly boosts Silver Glow's damage by up to 30% and provides a good amount of wind damage, movement speed, and other magic damage modifiers. Its Tier 5 upgrade also extends Silver Glow's duration by 1 second, which greatly improves her sustained damage in long fights. A strong alternative is Unlimited due to its huge AoE skill magic damage stat, which works best in boss hunts where huge burst is important. If you're using Unlimited, aim for Arch 4th Enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high PDI stat. But if you're using Sharp Sword, aim for Sharp Blade 4th Enchant with high PDI and reset the 3rd attribute to a high luck stat. As for weapon cards, you can use any of the following based on the stat you're lacking. Trickstar card is ideal when using Sharp Sword since it removes the need to rely on precision stones. For offhand, Skeleton Bracer is the best in slot for main equipment. It doesn't just increase the damage of your next attack by 100%, but instead it provides a 15% chance to increase your PDI by 100% for 15 seconds when attacking. This buff is only removed when you use a single target physical damage skill, which means AIS can maintain your 100% uptime on this effect. It's better to place Skeleton Bracer in the main equipment slot since its PDI value in the Phantom slot will be limited by your Phantom progress. As for Phantom offhand equipment, you can use any of the following ancient equipment depending on the stat you're lacking. Aim for Insight or Armor Breaking 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to high PDA stat. As for offhand cards, just choose depending on the stat you're lacking. For armor, the best slot for main equipment is Soul Cage with damage to large size. But if you lack Ignore Death, you can instead use a Dream Eater's Disguise, which also increases wind damage. As for Phantom equipment, my top picks are the Chosen's Gown for damage to large size, the Chosen's Armor for both dual attack and dual damage, or Star Shatter's Gown for magic damage modifiers. If you're using Unlimited, aim for Arch 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high PDI stat. But if you're using Sharp Sword, you can go for either Magic or Sharp 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high PDI stat. As for armor cards, you can use any of the following based on the stat you're lacking. The AIS Wallenstein card is my top choice if you can consistently reach 250% movement speed, since it provides a total of 25% final damage. For Garment, the only option is to use Classic Robe with 12% skill damage as main equipment and Divine Feather Clothes as Phantom equipment. Aim for Arcane 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high PDI stat. As for Garment cards, again just choose depending on the stat you're lacking. Since AIS usually lacks skill damage for Oracle and Constellation Tower runs, I personally prefer using a Zenobia card. For footgear, the options for main equipment are Boots of Balance, Orderly Ankle Boots, or Glorious War Boots. For Phantom footgear, you can use St. Mary's Cloth Shoes, Arcane Shoes, or White Gem Boots. Aim for Arcane 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high PDI stat. As for footgear cards, you can choose based on the stat you're lacking. Since AIS usually lacks skill damage for Oracle and Constellation Tower runs, I prefer using a Swordsman Senya MVP card. For accessories, I recommend using Floral Hair Clip as main equipment for a huge magic attack boost and Exorcising Talisman as Phantom equipment to increase spell crit chance. Aim for Anti-Mage 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to high PDA stat. As for accessory cards, you can choose from the following options depending on the stat you're lacking. For headwear, here are my top picks for each slot, just choose depending on availability and the stat you're lacking. For head, I prefer either Music of Soul for magic size damage or Wheel of Fortune 4-leaf clover for spell crit chance. Aim for a high luck and magic attack enchant. As for headwear cards, there are many viable options to just choose depending on the stat you're lacking. You may also switch to a headwear with Mistress Star card if you do not want to spend 10,000 zenny every time you cast Enhance. For face, I prefer a high refined blush natural makeup for spell crit chance, Ignore Death, and AoE skill magic damage. If not available, you can instead use a high refined epic spirit lightning for wind damage or delicate snowflake for skill damage. Aim for Insight 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high PDA stat. For mouth, the best slot is a Mouthful of Bliss, which gives 10% skill damage and 20% shoot-up final damage when the target's HP is below 15%. Aim for a high luck and magic attack enchant. For back, use a Chicken Axe for 10% damage to monsters and a 10% damage boost for the entire team. If another teammate is already using Chicken Axe, you can instead use a +6 Encomia's movement for spell crit chance or a +15 Freya's Wings to trigger Lex Eterna. Aim for Insight 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high luck stat. And lastly for tail, I prefer using Paper Folding Magic for AoE skill magic damage, It's Too Late for skill damage, or Pouring Ice Cubes for freezing targets. Aim for Arcane 4th enchant and reset the 3rd attribute to a high PDI stat. Up next, here are the other upgrades that you can invest in to further boost your damage. Through AC Monument, activating all the nodes will grant the following stats. Notably, you'll gain 20% wind damage, 15% movement speed, and 10% each of Empen, magic damage, and magic attack. For guild buffs, make sure to max out all your blessings and prayers that provide Magic Piercing Strike, Wind Piercing Strike, Wind Damage, Empen, Physical Pen, Ignore Death, Magic Attack, and Physical Attack. For Oracle Mirror Extract, my top picks are Bilkasarn for damage to MVP, Abribo if you're using the Era Fireseed Relic, Stick of Wicked Thought for Empen, or Combustible Knife for Physical Pen. For Ancient Relics, my top 3 picks for PVE are Era Fireseed, Horn of the Unyielding, and Lord of Vane. For Equipment Memory, here's a summary of the attributes that should prioritize for each memory. And when it comes to skill inheritance, I recommend getting Amplify Magic Power and Status Vulnerability. Finally, let's take a look at some tips for using AIS in battle. First, place the following skills in the manual and auto skill bars. For Prepare for Elite, place Enhance, Special Training, the Guardian of the Flame Wind, and Amplify Magic Power so you can cast all your buffs in one click. Once you're all set, use the following consumables that can further boost your damage, such as meal bees, food buffs, and alloys. You'll only need Precision Stone if you're using her exclusive weapon and do not have a Drake Star card or other methods that mitigate weapon size penalty. For skill rotation, start by activating all her buffs placed inside Prepare for Elite. Then activate Ariel and initiate attacking with Lil Rafaga for a strong initial burst while the MVP's HP is still at 100%. From there, turn on Auto Combat so that Silver Glow is automatically cast on the target, which then triggers the Mini Whirlwind from her core passive. You need to constantly move around the boss to extend Ariel's duration and ensure that Silver Glow keeps proccing on nearby enemies. For mob-heavy instances, you may cast Symphony of Wind and Fire to pull enemies together and for additional source of damage. Use Whirlwind to quickly dash to your target location or reposition yourself safely. And there you have it, that wraps up my complete guide to AIS Wallenstein for PvE. Again, it is always better to adjust your build based on the target's innate reduction stats to further maximize your damage output. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comment section below. And as always, keep in mind that actual in-game content may vary from what is presented in this video. Alright, that's it for this video guys. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed watching this guide. If you're new here, I would love you to consider subscribing by hitting the subscribe button down below. I would love to have you back. Thank you for watching and see you in our next episode.